I'm back with Rick Explains the Bible, and today we're going to look at Genesis chapter 15. Let's see what it says. Verse 1. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he shall come forth out of thine own bowels, shall thine heir. He brought him forth abroad, and said, Look toward the heaven, and tell the stars. If thou be able to number them, he said unto them, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord God, and he counted it to him for righteousness. So God promises Abram will have heirs from his own bowels. In fact, he'll have as many descendants as the stars in the sky, if he can count them. So Abram believes God, and it's counted as righteous. Or as Christian theology would like to interpret it, to the layman, he's right with God. Abram's acceptable. He's in. He's saved. Oops, spoiler alert. No one's truly saved until Jesus dies and resurrects. Wait, Jesus is nowhere to be seen here. Of course not. We're nowhere near that part of the story. Besides, that comes in the sequel, the New Testament. Things change a lot there, and theology takes a wacky turn when we get there. But for now, we're dealing with Abram, and he's saved because he believes. Verse 7. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of the Ur of the Chaldees, to give thee the land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took him all of these, and divided them in the midst, laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. So God tells Abram, here we have it again, another guy hearing the voice of God, because mental health care was nowhere to be found back then. Abram wants assurance. These are big promises. God tells him, here's what you do. Cut up a bunch of animals and put them in a line. So Abraham cuts the animals in half, but not the birds. They're left whole. The animals have to all be 3 years old, except for those 2 birds. We're not told the significance of this. It's probably just hidden there for biblical numerologists to debate. Abram drives the fowls away from the carcasses, and then he falls into a deep sleep, and great darkness falls upon him. Where have we heard that before? Oh yeah, that was Adam. Adam had great darkness fall upon him when he lost a rib that became Eve. So Adam's in this deep sleep and this great darkness. I think we usually call it night, unless it happens to be in the daytime. Then we call it solar eclipse. But back then it was all God magic. Verse 13. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. God the prophet, you're going to be strangers and serve another people for 400 years. It's not spelled out that it's Egypt. Spoiler alert. Verse 14. And also that nation whom they serve I will judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. So you're going to be servants for 400 years in this nation, and then I'm going to judge them. And they'll send you away with all kinds of gifts and prizes, even though they haven't been born yet, because Abram's yet to father anyone. But we do have Shem's descendants to this point, and Abram has come from the line of Shem. But there are still people who allegedly become captives in Egypt, and prophecies have one thing in common. None of them ever actually come true. unless you stretch the facts to fit your desired outcome. Of course, there are no facts here, just a biblical account of places, some of which archaeology can confirm, and some it cannot. But no trace of Hebrew slaves in great numbers ever being in Egypt. But that's an argument for the future. We're a little bit ahead of the story. Verse 15. And thou shalt go to thy father in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. Don't worry, Abraham. You'll live to be old. I'm still grandfathering in that 120-year thing, God tells Abram. Verse 16. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So God's storing up the sins of the Amorites, and when they've filled their bucket, they'll be dealt with. They live in the land that God is giving Abram. They'll have a righteous reason to wipe them out then, won't they? Since they're sinners, that's an easy call for God. He keeps accounts. He created people, but he won't be responsible for their behavior. Verse 17. And it came to pass that when the sun went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp passed between those pieces. So we have magic, smoke, a burning lamp, the pieces of animals split apart, and God walking between them in this figurative smoking furnace and burning lamp. Sounds familiar, smoking furnace, burning lamp. You might have seen the guy with the smoking furnace as he walks down the aisle in Catholicism. Yeah, they borrow a lot from these passages and take them for their own. So, we have these magic smoke and God walking between, and the contract is sealed. Abram is righteous. He'll have many children. His descendants will inherit Canaan, the promised land. And as soon as God facilitates their slaughter, because face it, they have it coming, they're sinners, and they don't worship God. Verse 18. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. The Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. And so God promises to give Abram all the land of all the people mentioned. And how will Abraham's descendants get it? Stay tuned, and we'll see what happens in Genesis chapter 16 in our next edition. Have a great day.